Eddie began to speak, his mouth just opening, but before he could say much, Tom felt a searing fury surge behind his eyes. The instant a word left his old friend's lips, Tom turned his gaze and threw a punch. Eddie didn't finish his sentence. Tom's right hook slammed straight into his chin. "Tom," cried Kate, rushing to place herself between them. "What's gotten into you?" "What's Ro?" Tom made another move toward Eddie, but she cut him off sharply. "He's the reason we're even here." Eddie touched his chin, then saw blood on his fingertips. "No, you thick-headed Texas redneck, you're the reason I'm stuck in this mess. Move, Kate, so we can settle this." She spun to face them both. "Right now, the pair of you are Texas morons." "No way," Eddie retorted, his Queen's accent unmistakable. "I'm from the Big Apple, he's the Texan dumbass." "Isn't it crystal clear, Kate?" Tom said. "I was supposed to meet him in Ecuador of all places." "Why?" "Because his damn life was in danger. Some drug lord was after him. He asked for my help and then he ghosts me. Next thing I know, I've been drugged and shoved out of a plane. None of this happens if not for him." "Wrong," Kate said, gripping his chin tightly to force eye contact. "You're here because I brought you here, and Eddie, he's here because of me too. Try to remember he's our friend, and it looks like he got taken just like we did." Eddie took a cautious step forward. "Ever think I might be caught in the same nightmare you are?" "Not even once," Tom shot back. Then, glancing sidelong at Kate, added, "I don't like the smell of this pony ride." Something wasn't sitting right. Tom knew Eddie, they had a long history both as friends and business partners. But the sequence of things gnawed at him. Kate contacted the kidnappers. Eddie later dropped from the sky. Why hadn't he been thrown out of the plane when they were? Sure, they had a bond, yet Eddie had never truly gotten over the way Tom had ended things between them. This whole debacle could be revenge, or maybe Tom was just overthinking. "So," Tom said, narrowing his eyes at Eddie, silently pressing him for honesty, "you're really here to help find the gold?" "Yeah," Eddie responded, "and I'm here to help you rescue your daughter." He added a heartbeat later, "Do we have a truce?" Tom remained silent, so Kate repeated the question, "Are we good?" "As good as things can be under the circumstances," he answered at last. "You'd better have brought everything we need." Again, the sound of branches shattering and scraping echoed above as something fell from the sky, followed by a heavy thud. "That should be the rest of our supplies," Eddie said with a wry grin. Tom tried to squeeze in a bit more sleep before the sky broke with daylight, but when that failed, he got up. Using his pocket knife, he carved a spear from a branch he found. While Kate napped nearby, he shuffled quietly into the shallow water and managed to nab 2 pacus, each about as big as both his hands side by side. They made a decent breakfast for him and Kate, the fish tasting slightly sweet. As for Eddie, he was an adult, more than able to look after himself. Once the meal was over, Tom took another dose of antibiotics. Though the pills were damp from their waterfall mishap, the bottle's cap had done its job well enough. Now, with daylight stretching across the sky and his left shoulder still sore from its prior dislocation, he and Kate started hauling their supplies closer to the edge of the lagoon. "Would have been great if all this landed nearer to the water," Tom muttered to Kate. Hauling equipment back and forth offered a strange kind of comfort. He still felt unsettled about seeing Eddie again like a horse with a skidding saddle, but for now his temper was holstered. Kate was close behind him. "Not loving this either, arms full, leaves swiping at my face. Pretty far from ideal," she grumbled. "I'd trade all this for some clean clothes." "Huh, and a hot shower," she added with a laugh. "We're about to get the opposite, an icy rinse." You can't say I'm thrilled about that either. As they moved past the last clumps of thick foliage, Tom cast a glance over his shoulder. At least the dry suits should keep the hypothermia away, he said. Dropping his arm load on the gravel-speckled shoreline, Kate followed suit as sunlight spilled across the eastern peaks of the Andes. The view was startlingly beautiful, though not quite as striking as the sunlight glinting through Kate's tangled, frizzed waves of hair. No makeup, no fancy shampoo didn't matter. What? She asked. Tom let his eyes drift beyond her frame, just appreciating the sunrise, nothing more. She turned to admire the contrast of light and shadow painting the green landscape. It really is magnificent. Tom gave her arm a gentle squeeze and threw in a wink, his silent way of apologizing, extending forgiveness, smoothing things over. Sure, she should have come clean about the satellite phone, and he shouldn't have gone off the rails. But that was behind them now. Her answer said it all, a nod, a faint smile, her fingers resting on his hand. Things were fine between them. As for Eddie, Tom hadn't let his guard down entirely. His doubts ping-ponged between the friend he had known and the stranger now trudging through the foliage with one final load of supplies. People could shift over time for better or worse. Let's break the equipment down, Eddie suggested, rubbing his palms together. Sort by individual, Tom agreed. My stuff, Kate's, and yours, just like old times. Something along those lines, Tom replied, giving Eddie a scrutinizing glance, trying to decipher his true motives. Still not thrilled about Kate diving, she's not certified. What if something happens? I can manage, Kate insisted. If it doesn't seem that complicated, you just breathe, right? Tom looked at her intently. Exactly. And that's exactly what can make it dangerous, among other things. Their gear list included a spool of nylon rope stretching 1,200 feet, roughly equivalent to 4 football fields, so heavy 2 people had to carry it. They also had carabiners for attaching to rope lines, scuba equipment, underwater lamps, basic climbing tools, and Tom's personal favorite, diver propulsion vehicles. These DPVs were compact, agile, and strong for their size, handheld machines that you simply pointed ahead and let carry you through the current. They each had enough air to last an hour, plus 2 emergency canisters reserved strictly for life-threatening scenarios. Whoever orchestrated the abduction of their daughter had spared no cost. This was the work of someone precise, well-funded, and driven by the desire for treasure. But right now, Tom wasn't focused on the gold. His attention was on Kate, who was checking her dry suit, an act that brought Savannah to his mind. There's one catch with this whole underground river mission, he said to her. Aside from the current that almost dragged you away, she responded. Yep, he replied. Unfortunately, we're working against the clock. Once we've used up half of our air supply, we'll cross a threshold beyond which there's no turning back. If we don't discover a natural chamber with breathable air before then, just thinking about it made him inhale deeply, something they took for granted in normal life. What he hadn't confessed was that, once they entered the tunnel, the flow of the river might become too powerful to fight against. That could end up being the real point of no return. After Eddie tied the nylon rope securely around a robust tree trunk and assisted in hauling the spool into the water, Tom pulled on a wetsuit and flippers, then trudged out to the drop-off's edge before plunging into the depths. He was free diving, clutching a stone, opting to conserve the air tank for emergencies. At around 15 feet down, he flattened his body, equalized the pressure in his ears with a swallow, and glided until he was about 10 feet away from the entrance. Suspended in place, he observed as stirred-up silt swirled into the hidden current channel and flowed straight into the gaping mouth of the subterranean river. He let the rock go. It dropped vertically, then darted away upon hitting the current, vanishing into the cavern's darkness. Tom kicked toward the surface. We just need to lower the spool in and let the current guide it, he said. Then let's get moving, Eddie replied. By the time Tom returned to shore, Kate had already wriggled into her dry suit. She pulled the hood forward over her head, adjusting it firmly into place. The suit hugged her frame uncomfortably, concealing her hair and leaving only her face exposed. She wore slip-proof gloves, diving boots, and fins, completing her appearance. "You resemble a penguin, too," she commented, "so don't tease." Erasing his hands, Tom responded, "Wouldn't even think of it." "Save the flirty banter," Eddie interjected. "You'll have enough time to make out after we survive this." Tom smirked. "Maybe we should pick up where we left off back in the jungle." "Calm down, cowboy. Not every issue has to be settled with your fists." With a sly grin and narrowed eyes, Tom shot back, "I'm versatile. I'm just as happy using a boot." And Kate clapped her hands. "Hey, focus, please. I'm about to dive into a swirling death trap, and I'd really appreciate it if you two could stay sharp." He picked the fight. Eddie dismissed the comment with a wave and turned away. In a lower voice, Tom remarked, "Reminds me of how he acted when I told him I was quitting the treasure hunting scene. Wasn't thrilled about me taking my share of the last haul to pay off my ranch." "You're both behaving like kids," Kate said, "and I never claimed I was okay with him, but I'll deal." "I promise I'm focused." Tom gestured her over. "Let's get your BC vest on. I should probably know what BC means, right? Buoyancy compensator helps you rise," he answered, watching Eddie gearing up. Kate leaned to meet his gaze. "And sink too, yes. Glad to see you remember something from those dive lessons you never finished." She paused, then added, "Funny how every happy memory seems to bring a bad one along." "The great thing about the past, it's behind us," he said, turning toward the scuba gear. "Normally, you'd rest the tanks on a table and squat to gear up, but as you can see, tables are in short supply." With a grin, Tom lifted the pair of tanks. Kate automatically slid her arms through the vest and zipped up, though the weight on her back made her struggle. "Lean forward slightly to center the load." "I've got it, I think," she said, steadying herself with both hands on the vest. "Should feel lighter once I'm in the water." Eddie assisted Tom with his gear, then Tom did the same for him. They remained silent, probably for the best. The emergency air tanks were firmly fastened at chest height on the front of their suits. Using bungee cords, Eddie secured two diver propulsion vehicles together. Transporting them while keeping one hand on the guide rope would be a tough task for him. Meanwhile, Tom was responsible for hauling the third DPV, maintaining his grip on the rope and ensuring Kate stayed alive. Though the DPVs might end up being unnecessary, they could come in handy, but they were certainly cumbersome. The trio plunged into the water, pulling down their masks, biting down on their regulators, and entering fins first. Tom began instructing Kate on how to deflate her buoyancy vest. As air escaped, she began sinking partially and instinctively reached out to her ears due to the pressure change. Earlier, Tom had trained her to swallow and align her body horizontally to help handle the discomfort. After applying the technique, she flashed the all-clear signal with her hand. Together, they moved toward the opening. Eddie steadily let out rope during the descent. It proved easier to manage underwater. They hovered above the entrance, the strength of the river's current visible just a few feet ahead. Eddie then let go of the spool, pushing it into the hole. It vanished into the dark depths, unspooling rapidly. Clipping his carabiner to the line, Eddie slipped inside, his shoulder-mounted light casting illumination ahead. The current pulled him under. Tom could only trust that his ex-business partner had secured his grip before the river claimed full control and dragged him down. Then it was Tom's turn. Opting for a different method, he tucked the DPV under his right arm and connected to the rope with that same hand. With his free hand, he searched for the guide rope within the tunnel. Once he found it and firmly latched on, he moved in slowly, halting after advancing 6 or 7 feet. The flow tugged at his legs, stretching his body deeper into the tunnel, yet he held tight. For a moment, everything was under control until Kate appeared behind him, speeding forward. She crashed into Tom, dislodging the DPV from his grasp. It disappeared into the river's powerful current. Locked together in a tight grip, they spiraled uncontrollably into the darkness ahead.